Hi lovelies, so welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Building this channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the love and support. To those people that share my videos and leave commentaries and also educate you guys are the real MVP. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
So lovelies, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok and I thought to share with you guys where this black Republican decided to say all sort during Jim Crow. He went ahead to talk about how black families were actually together during the Jim Crow time. Guys, I'm just gonna roll the clip because a lot of people were reacting to it. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. All right, lovely.
An educational opportunity. So let's talk about Byron Donalds. So on Monday or Tuesday, Byron Donalds held a campaign event in Philadelphia. And at that campaign event, he had some things to say about black people and the Jim Crow era, right? At the name of the title, you are not going to believe this. I promise you, you can look it up. The title of this campaign event was Congress, Cognac, and Cigars. The title of the campaign event was Congress, Cognac, and Cigars. And in the area of Philadelphia where this campaign event took place, it was a predominantly white area, an affluent area, which is suspect when the campaign event was supposed to be designed to reach out to the black community. The title of the event, Congress, Cognac, and Cigars. The campaign event was to reach out to black voters, and the campaign event, the office was in an affluent, predominantly white neighborhood. And here's the cherry on top. They had a number of black people attend the event. But according to those who were at the event or those who were reporting from the event, the majority of the people who attended the event came from outside of Philadelphia. Anywho, it is important that you hear what Byron Donalds had to say directly from his own mouth, because Byron Donalds, he's doing two things. He's doubling down and he's saying that his words were taken out of context. So here is what he said directly from his own mouth.
You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened?
Now I get what Byron Donalds was trying to say. Basically, black people are more conservative minded. I can agree with him on that. But in the Jim Crow era, black people did not vote conservatively because black people were dealing with voter suppression. It was very hard for black people to cast a vote back during the Jim Crow era. Did they have the right to vote? Yes. Were they able to vote? A lot of times, no. Why? Because black people had to pay poll taxes in order to vote. Black people had to take ridiculous tests and pass these tests in order to vote. And if they didn't pass these tests, they weren't granted the right to vote. They weren't allowed to vote. Guess how many jelly beans are in this jar? And you got this huge jar of jelly beans, and you've got to guess how many jelly beans are in the jar. If you guess wrong, no. And not to mention that black people were in fear for their lives for trying to exercise their right to vote. Voting could lead to death for black people. So I understood some of what Byron Donalds was trying to say. But at the same time, Byron Donalds is being intellectually dishonest. He is manipulating the history. Right? He's leading people to believe, he's insinuating that during the Jim Crow era, black people were doing much better. He's romanticizing the Jim Crow era as it relates to the black family and black people. He ties in HEW and Lyndon Johnson and says that, well, as a result of that, this is where we are today. HEW and Lyndon Johnson ties into Medicaid programs and welfare programs. When we all know that today black people aren't the ones predominantly using these programs. White people are. So as he tries to insinuate that black people were doing better under Jim Crow, he's not being 100% honest. He's not being 100% honest. Were black people, was the black family more together during Jim Crow? Yeah. But these oppressive policies, these racist policies that racist white men have put into place here in the United States, that is the reason for the destruction of the black family. This right here is a website. It is called the Jim Crow Museum. The website is jimcrowmuseum.ferris.edu. You will be surprised at the type of laws that were implemented during the Jim Crow era. And none of these laws benefited black people. Every single one of these laws that they implemented during the Jim Crow era was designed to treat black people as second-class citizens. Period. We all know about segregation. When I was reading through some of these laws, I knew most of these laws that have been implemented. One law that I did not know was that in some states, if you were opening up a business to provide a service, you had to designate what race of customer you were going to be serving. White people or black people. It couldn't be a combination of the two because of segregation, right? In some states, you either served white people or you served black people. There was no, the black people come in at the back door and we'll serve you in the back of the store. No, it was either or. And I find it interesting. That he's trying to insinuate that black people were doing better under Jim Crow, right? That the black family was doing better under Jim Crow when interracial marriage was not allowed in any of these states during the Jim Crow era. Why is that important? That is important because this is Byron Donalds and his beautiful wife. A white woman. They have 3 very beautiful mixed race kids. This would not have happened during the Jim Crow era because, yeah, this was not allowed. Check out that website and educate yourself on how detestable those Jim Crow laws were and how they were designed to subjugate black people. The internet is wearing Byron Donalds' ass out. But I'll leave you with what Hakeem Jeffries had to say about this situation.
Speaker, has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation?
This is your reminder that Reconstruction was from 1865 to 1877. We got a little bit of a decade where black people thrive post-emancipation. But from 1877 to the 1960s, close to 100 years of torture, torment, violence, and disenfranchisement by this very country, by white people in this very country against black people, where they pass laws to marginalize black families, was Jim Crow. My grandmother is still alive, and she survived Jim Crow. Some of her sisters and brothers are still alive after surviving Jim Crow. My grandfather was chased into a sugarcane field by a bunch of white people who were trying to use his body as a cadaver during Jim Crow. And you're saying that black people thrived as families? Not to mention there were people who were fighting to end Jim Crow for years because of the torment. Also, the fact that you were married to a white woman with interracial kids was illegal. And how are you speaking on the black family when you don't even have one? You don't even know how to function according to your own words with a black family because your mother wasn't with your father and you don't know what happened. Caused them to separate. But you implied that they were good underneath Jim Crow. You implied that black families were good underneath Jim Crow. So you come from a separated home only to have an interracial home. Where is your knowledge and experience with a solidified black family for you to speak on one?
Now, this video is inspired by Donald Trump glizzy swallower, Rocket Raccoon, GOP Republican representative from the state of Florida, Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds had the nerve to say the following about Jim Crow and the black family.
You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people are always a bit conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened to them?
I have addressed the issues of Jim Crow before and this video specifically on my main page, but today I feel inspired because of this Rocket Raccoon to talk about the lynching of Frazier Baker and his daughter Julia Baker that occurred in Lake City, South Carolina during Jim Crow. Now, in 1897, during Jim Crow, Frazier Baker was appointed as the postmaster of Lake City, South Carolina. President William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, spoke out against lynching during his presidential run to secure the office by securing the vote of so-called white liberals at the time. But also, he failed to provide any support in the way of troops to protect black people in the South against the very lynching he was running on a platform for. Did you follow all that? Yeah, typical, right? And this lip service, without any teeth to back it up, is also what led to the massacre that happened in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1898, in which a white mob executed city council members, a mayor, and black residents in the town because they had the nerve to elect a mostly black city councilman and mayor. Yeah, a coup attempt. Successful, by the way, and nobody was ever held accountable for it. But let's get back to The lynching of Frazier Baker and his daughter Julia, which happened in February of that year. This is a picture of Mrs. Frazier and her 5 surviving children. She lost her husband and one of her children in this lynching that involved a mob of angry racist white men setting fire to the post office that also served as the home of the Baker family, and then circling that fire and firing 100 rounds into the fire, killing Frazier Baker and his 15-year-old daughter, Julia. And can you imagine a mother's grief at having to flee your burning home with one of your children in your arms that has been shot dead, and helping 3 other of your children who have also been shot that will go on to be permanently marred because of racism? And to think that the local paper reported that Mr. Frazier and Julia's bodies had been burnt beyond recognition and cremated in the fire. That mob's anger towards a black postman being appointed as the Postmaster General for Lake City, South Carolina, was so intense that they did not care that they destroyed the post office and left themselves without federal postal service for a while. And despite all of the overwhelming evidence against every one of the white men who participated in burning down a federal building, a family residence, and killing 2 black people, an all-white jury refused to convict them. So no, Rocket Raccoon Glizzy Swallower, we do not need you telling us about the black family in any way, shape, or form during Jim Crow, because it's not true that they were staying together. It's true that they were being unalived at an alarming rate together.
U.S. Representative Byron Donalds says that during Jim Crow, black people were together. Black families specifically was together. The ironic part about it is, after Jim Crow, after integration, he himself is married to a white woman. So I just want to know, what was his point? And Joy Reid wanted to know his point too, the sister interviewing. Shout out to that sister Joy Reid, because she says that she think interracial marriage affects the black household. And he tried to say, no, that's the great thing of being away from Jim Crow, because it doesn't, and not realizing that when black people knew we had black people, we stayed together. Integration.
Like, seriously, lovelies, this is very, very disappointing. It's highly disappointing coming from a black person, the Byron, who happens to be a Republican. I think he's running for a VP or something. He went ahead to talk about how, during the time of Jim Crow, actually benefited black people. He, claims that during that time, black families were actually together. There are relationships and all of that. Like, seriously, how could you prefer a time where there is discrimination? How could you, forget so soon as a black person? Like, the black struggle, Jim Crow period, is actually a period or a time that no black person actually want to go back to. No black person actually want to go back to that time. And this is, the time that you actually think that it was better for black people. Like, as if this era was the era of Jim Crow, if you will be able to have an interracial family. Like, some people, yeah, when they thought that things are getting, better for them, or things are in place for them. Maybe they finally reach that place they have been clamoring for to reach in life. They tend to forget quickly how they all started. People tend to, forget their history, their background, how they actually started, how, from the Genesis word. Like you are telling us of how black people actually had families and all of that. So that means this time around, we do not, have families. We don't do families. There are no lot of, fathers in the life of their kids and all of that. But the Jim Crow era, it's actually favored, black people's, because there are families, and black people were able to maintain family in fear, agony, and all of that. A time where you don't even have what they call freedom of speech. A time where there is discrimination, segregation. Like, how can someone that is of a, that have known, that even know his historical struggle, all of a sudden forget and come out, or because you think you find yourself in a certain position, then you automatically forget where your mother, father, sisters, your ancestors, you all of a sudden forget how they all began, forget all the struggles, or because you thought that you have found yourself in a maybe better position, because you have actually, you've arrived. So now you think that during that era it's more favorable, and as if we're still in that era, you'll be able to get married to a pan-colored woman and enjoy yourself peacefully in an interracial relationship. They say that you will not know the benefit of what you have until you lose it. You prefer a time that black people is just, this is one thing about, some black guys that are into interracial couple. It actually reminds me of a video on stage of some group of athletes where they were giving the empires to their wives. Since I've gotten married to you, you are entitled to do so many things. You're entitled to use the N-word. You're entitled to, they automatically forget where they're from. This is exactly like what is happening to Byron. You have a very beautiful family, beautiful interracial family, but you totally forgot the struggle of being a black person. You totally forgot what black people went through during the Jim Crow era, that you have to, make a statement trying to make it seem as if during Jim Crow was better for black people. This is actually what it means. It means that during that time, it was actually better for black people to go back to that era. Like, seriously, how could someone who knows the struggle of being a black person, who knows the way at which the system has been built, who knows, 60 or 50% of the black problems, if not even all. But you think it was, okay for you to want them to go back during the time that they are praying day and night not to ever go back to that time. But because you feel that you've arrived, so nothing might even, hurt you and all of that. So that is your own contribution in the development of the society. That is your own little contribution. Like, one thing about people like this is that they just forget. They forget so soon. Like, seriously, this is just so shocking. most of this guy be talking anyhow. This actually remind me of a video I teach of a black guy actually regretting being born black. He prefers to be a Hispanic or something, because he went ahead to talk about how black people don't value family, they're not family oriented and all of that, that Hispanic people have, family oriented and all of that. And this said guy is also married to a white woman. Like, why is it that most people that go into interracial relationship, especially our black guys, that get themselves involved in an interracial relationship, just tend to like become whitewashed and tend to like, dislike that thing in them, that blackness in them and all of that. This guy was, saying it with his full chest that he preferred that he was Hispanic without even knowing that Hispanic also have their own problems. There is no one that is perfect. You can never be perfect. If you're clamoring that this other place is so perfect, you don't know that there is another present thing which is actually making that place not to be, as perfect as you thought. Like they say, all that glitters is not good. So you prefer black people to actually go back to, an era that they will be more discriminated, an era where they will, segregated, an era where there is no even freedom of speech. Like, and it's coming from a black guy. And this guy was supposed to be running for an office, right? That's why they say most of all these Republicans can never be trusted. I don't blame them. I don't blame people that say such thing. Like, seriously, it's actually a blind person that will see all of this and still wanna, you know what I mean? Because most of all these people are just there for their own gain. If they are comfortable, other people can just go to HELLL. Seriously, this word, everybody is just doing something to benefit him or herself. And if it doesn't work out, they'll look for so many excuses, as why it never worked out. Anyways, lovelies, why not just, leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So please, share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that. And I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.
If I've watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So please, why not share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that. And I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.